ask@livebearded.com.
Not ask. What you don't understand is the
spot opened up literally next door.
Or
That's a
it's
big
real.
freaking win for the company because
We started this show
Spencer and Anthony.
it's crazy how loyal
guys were thirsty for some
one of the
lube.
encouraging men to be the best version. Ask us anything.
Welcome to the Beardsmen.
That is a good question.
You know, you got 14 hours, let's say, a little bit burnt out, unmotivated.
Week, not their birthday.
I gotta extend it.
Welcome to the Beardsmen, the show where we talk, mock, and never walk away from the conversation. I'm your host, Nathan, here as always with Mink and Spencer, the founders of Live Bearded. What's up, boys?
What's up, guys? My name is Spence.
I'm Mink, and we started this show because as the founders of Live Bearded, our favorite thing to do is have conversations with men about life, about what it means to be a man, and about living in the crazy world we're in today.
It's pretty crazy out there.
Yeah,
it really
man.
is. Guys, the format of the show is pretty simple. I want to keep it easy for you guys. It's an Ask Us Anything. Literally, there's nothing off the table. If you want to hear about Live Bearded, behind the scenes, stories, what's going on, current events, men's lifestyle, health, wellness, we'll literally give you our opinion on just about anything. I don't know how much it's going to be worth, but we'll give it to you anyways.
Talk, mock, but never walk away from the conversation.
So, guys, if you have questions you want to submit, Nate Dogg, how do they get those to us?
They can drop the questions in the comment section. We'll pull them from there. Or shoot us an email, ask@livebearded.com, and you have a chance to have your question featured on the show.
Nice.
There we go. What's up, guys?
How
What's
you
going
doing,
on,
man?
What's new?
All right, give us the daddy update.
Daddy
That's the
update.
thing. I got to be honest with you. Looking at some of the analytics, it seems like what people really want to know is how's dad going?
Dude, dad life is great. Dad life is great. The daddy update for the week. All right, so I didn't really realize why they referred to like newborn kids as like, oh, it's 3 weeks old or 4 weeks old or 5 weeks old. I'm like, dude, it's like 1 month or 2 months. Like I just didn't get it, right? You probably get it. They change like crazy weeks after week. Like you don't realize until you go through. You're like, oh shit, like more expressions, or eyes are opening, or they're like catching on to sounds and starting to track. Like, so yeah, he's starting to get more aware of his surroundings. He definitely knows when I come home. The best feeling ever is walking in and getting him on my chest, and he just, I mean, I don't think I'm making it up, but he lights up and he starts to smile and grin. It's just like the coolest experience ever. So I think he's 6 weeks now at this point, so I think he's just starting to get more aware of his surroundings and know who we are and kind of show some expressions.
Yeah.
For the first couple weeks, they're potatoes. They just sit there and they like lump. They're all rolled out and they're still cute. But
Yeah.
they don't do anything.
No
so.
more blowouts?
No more blowouts, bro.
Yeah,
We're getting good
you're
this
early
week.
in. More blowouts are coming, I
Yeah.
assure you.
The tally is still, I've been pissed on twice and I've been shit on once in 6 weeks. So stay tuned
for
for more
anybody
blowouts.
out there that's keeping score, it's 1-2.
Yeah.
So 2 1s and 1 2.
2 1s and 1 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
What's changed for you the most with it? Like what have you felt becoming a dad? Like has anything in the way you're seeing the world changed?
Oh, dude, everything. Yeah, I think the, people I talk to going in this like, I can try to tell you, but you have to experience it. And there's so much truth in that. Like I can try to articulate words to express it, but it's such a deeper feeling. And the biggest thing for me, I think, is just when you hold this little guy, it's like a little bit of you and a little bit of your wife, and you see yourself. It's like looking into a mirror, and it's a reflection. And so for me, I think the biggest change is just the ultimate accountability. It's what kind of man do I need to be? What standards do I need to have to lead this little guy into the future, to make sure that he has the skills necessary to be the best version of himself? And that mirror, it's like I'm seeing myself and all the things that I know that I wish I could have had or done differently in the past, and the drive and motivation to make sure that I correct any of those changes for my son in the future. And what skills, who do I need to be as a man? What do I need to develop? And that accountability is beyond anything that I've ever experienced before. So that just mission and purpose of just laser sharp focus. We talked about it last week. It's like super focused on efficiencies, saying no to more things, like really dialing my life to focus on what's most important. And then, trying to build this little guy into an awesome future leader. So
Yeah. I remember I had a mentor very early on, and he had this idea that he shared with me called Sins of Our Fathers. And I don't think it's original by any means, but his name was Mark, and as we were just getting to know each other, he really was inquiring about my childhood and growing up, and what was your dad like, and this and that. And, I told him a lot about the alcoholism and the abuse and just like the chaos that was my childhood. And one day he was like, all of us as fathers, because he was a father of 2 boys, have committed sins against our sons. And he goes, I think the greatest opportunity that a son has is to not commit the same sins as their father and to stop whatever those generational sins are or failures that we make as fathers, and to stop those so that the sons don't have that experience. And so he was like challenging me. He's like, one day when you become a father, just never forget this idea of sins of your father. And it's your responsibility to not recreate or reproduce some of those mistakes that you experienced. And I just always loved that idea of like, I'm going to be the one that changes the way that the Mink family name, or for you, the Davis family name, exists in reality. And I also recently I heard PBD talking about it. You know, PBD's for those guys, for those listening that don't know, that's Patrick Bet David, or PBD for short. Spence and I are in a coaching program with him, and I think he's one of the most aspirational leaders in business and in politics today. He's really become a big voice in politics.
I'd argue in life. I mean, it's been really cool to kind of get to know him a little bit better on a personal level and hear how we talked before, like it's easy to idolize people that are super successful in business, right? Elon Musk is the richest man in the world and he's solving the biggest problems, but he's, you know, maybe weak in relationships or he's had multiple wives, and again, no knock, no judgment, but it's like, if I value family time and connection with my family, he's maybe not the best role model in that sense, right? PBD has such a well-rounded balance, and it's super impressive to see that he prioritizes. He goes to church every Sunday. He has family time every weekend. He's very intentional with his time with his kids, and he's a badass savage in business, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, he just did an interview, and they asked him how much he was worth, and I've never heard him say this before. He's like, you could say, he's like a few $100 million. You know, he's got 4 kids. He's got a wife that he's been with for 15 years. They've built the business together. Like, I think when you look to people that are role models, I think you want to look to someone who is like they're where you want to be in some cases. Those are the types of people that I want to take advice from, learn from, etc. And oftentimes it's like, I'm going to take fitness advice from this person, finance advice from this person, business advice from this person. It's rare to find someone that really has kind of that 360 view.
I think it's so important too, because it's like, okay, you take fitness advice from this guy who his whole career is to be in health and wellness. He has literally around the clock nutrition, supplementation, diet, recovery. It's like, well, how can you have that level of time and attention into your health and wellness if you're trying to drive and build a business and you're trying to be present with your family? It's like, can you say yes to all those things and be world-class in all of them? I think you can be world-class to a certain degree, but you're going to have to say no or compromise in certain areas. So to find a role model who has the health and wellness and vitality that you want, that has the business drive, but also still manages the family and the personal development and, you know what I mean, travel and leisure, whatever, like finding somebody that you can model them, I think that's really important.
He, in an interview, he was asked, you know, how many kids do you have? And he's like, oh, I got 4. I'd have 10 if I could. And the interviewer was like, why? Like, and he said something, and I can't even regurgitate it, but I just remember the feeling afterwards was like, he basically said, to some degree, you don't have the capacity to understand what, like, the level of being a man is until you're responsible for people beyond yourself. And the ultimate responsibility beyond yourself is that of kids. And what was really interesting is, again, I don't even know what he said or how he said it, but he was talking about when you become a father, the way that changes you, and the way that evolves your thinking, or the way that you view things, or the intention that you have to things. It made me think like, wow, in order to get to the deepest levels of growth and evolution, you almost have to take those types of, I say risks, but you have to make those types of commitments, you know, because it's, you know, it's interesting. I've heard it said that, you know, a man doesn't become a man until he loses his father, gets married, or has a kid, in some combination of the 3. And I've lost my father, which fortunately neither of you guys have at this point. And that definitely changes you in a very profound way as a man. In some ways, it was like it set me free. You know, I had a very challenged relationship with my dad, as both of you guys know. There was a lot of abuse and chaos and trauma there. But also it made me look at my role in my family in a different way. And it also made me look at how I can correct the sins of my father in a new way. And so it's very interesting. I think all of us as men are going to go through these different stages of development. And I love in real time, and what Nathan and you have to remember to do is every week we have to get Daddy Update, because I think it's so relevant to so many people in the world, other fathers, but also for men that are already fathers that have went through the experience, and men like myself that are not. It's a constant reminder of how the world is evolving around us at all times, and we don't have the life that we want. We have the life that we focus on. right? Said in other ways, we don't experience the life that we have, we experience the life that we focus on. And oftentimes we focus on what's wrong or what's right or what we don't have or what we want or why we don't have it. But it's where our focus goes is what ultimately ends up being the way that our life is experienced. And I think with you, you have this really beautiful mirror, as you elegantly said, that's reflecting back to you the most important parts of life. And that is such a beautiful reminder to all of us.
100%.
Yeah, dude, it's been so exciting to watch you become a dad. Like, as soon as you were telling me you guys were having a baby, I was so excited. Like, you're going to be just an absolutely incredible father. Like, I'm so excited to watch this journey.
Appreciate that, bro.
Speaking of journeys,
We got some music lines over here. What?
we've got Steve Perry as a guest today, actually.
All right.
From the grave. It's been we've got April Fool's Day coming up, and we're finally bringing something to fruition. I can't give away too much here.
I
but
wish so badly we can tell you what we have planned. Let's just say this content piece
2 years.
has
2
been
years.
talked about. No, longer than 2 years. This goes back 4 or 5 years at least.
Oh.
The idea of this is like early days Live Bearded. We had this crazy idea for a content piece, and we never did it because it wasn't just top priority. But we're doing it this year, and it's gonna be fantastic.
So stay tuned, you guys. You don't want.
I wish I could tell you more.
It's going to be.
You're gonna see in a couple days. So yeah, it's enough about that teaser. We do have a birthday coming up too.
We do. We're almost 8 years old. It's a few more weeks, and this will be our 8th birthday.
So those of you that are listening and have been following us, it's gonna be our 8th birthday.
What's crazy is right before the show started, Nathan brought up that, and he mentioned something about our Facebook page, and so I went, because Facebook will tell you when it was started. I set up the Facebook page October 14th, 2015.
October 14th.
Yeah, so that was like the very first time
testing,
we had
early.
ever talked about the idea. So maybe some of you guys have heard this before, but Spence and I were in my living room talking about different business ideas. He was growing out his beard or getting ready to grow out his beard for No Shave November.
Stash was coming in
started
nice.
pitching and catching this idea of Live Bearded, and it wasn't called Live Bearded back then. It was just this idea of like, what if we started a men's grooming company? What if it focused on beards? And me being the crazy kid that I am, I immediately jumped online and started like searching around for different names. And I don't even remember what it was, but there was this website that you could type in a name and it would tell you if it was available on all the different social media platforms. So I was typing in different names, boom, 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 boom. And then I typed in, whatever, Live Bearded. So I typed in Live Bearded and it was like available. It was available across every social media platform. And I was like, fuck. And then I went to Google, or not Google, GoDaddy, livebearded.com.
Domain was available.
It was available for like $8. And I was like, fuck,
right.
I'm buying it.
Would you say this is the best $8 you've ever spent?
The best $8 ever
So,
invested.
and it was like, it wasn't even, like there was some forethought into the name, but also like part of the challenge of the business today is just like finding a name that's available. One of the dumbest fucking things I did in business is I bought the domain name Organifi without realizing that there was a giant supplement company called Organifi.
Spelled just one letter different.
Yeah, it was spelled one letter different. So I bought Organifi.com with a Y, and I spent $5,000 on it. And I was like, oh, this could be the greatest fucking name ever. I can't wait to do it, blah, blah, blah. And one of my buddies is like, hey, bro, do you know there's an Organifi with an I? I was like, really? And so I searched Organifi.com with an I. Motherfucker. I literally just lost $5,000. Like I couldn't do anything about
Do
it.
they have an affiliate program? You can just become an affiliate.
I did.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. Yeah. So I literally started an affiliate program, and this is not to bag on them. Like I know the people over there; they're good people. But all I did was redirect my URL because most people were spelling
Searching it with a Y.
with a Y instead of an I. Overnight, I started making like a couple grand a month in affiliate sales, and I was like, "Well, shit, this ain't that bad."
Not a bad
right?
investment. $5K.
Yeah.
A couple K a month.
But like 30 days in, they banned my account, and they were like, "You're stealing our traffic." I was like, "No, I'm not. You motherfucker spelled it wrong. Like, I'm actually helping your customer
clean up
experience
traffic.
because all these people are fucking going and searching for your brand and can't find it because they're typing in the wrong spelling. You should be thanking me." And they're like, "No, you're blah, blah, blah." So then I was like, "Do you want to buy the domain?" They're like, "We'll give you $100 for it." I was like, "Fuck you guys." I got pissed. I shouldn't say this out loud, but I kind of wanted to redirect that website to like a malicious
competitor.
a competitor. I thought maybe Pornhub at one point in time just because I was pissed. Anyways, I didn't end up doing anything with it. I just...
But if you would have redirected it to Pornhub, that was something that they would have remembered forever.
Yeah, as much as I get irritated at times, I really, I believe in karma. And so I don't want to, put bad juju into the world. But anyways, October 14th, 2015, that's when we first set up the Live Bearded fan page. And we bought some beard combs, did some tests, and then I think we officially kind of kicked things off full bore in like March 2016.
16. Yep.
Yeah. This is a crazy journey. I remember those beard combs. That beard comb was where I came in. I remember watching it being like, this is probably a scam from China or something, but it's a free thing. I'll take it. I'll roll the dice.
Last week, I know you and I both spent some time calling some of our best customers that have been with us like over 100 orders, have just been around.
2016, 2017.
Yeah. What was crazy about that is one of the customers I called was order number 97.
97.
He
Holy
literally,
cow.
like, we launched our Shopify store in like beginning of August 2016.
Yeah.
And he was like August 15th, 2016.
That's crazy.
But
Early.
the order number, literally, I went back and I looked at all of his orders, and order number was like 1,097.
That's
which
crazy.
was like the order numbers started at 1,000.
Still with us today.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Amazing.
That's amazing.
Had-
What's your guys' favorite Live Bearded birthday memory?
Birthday memory. Like
Yeah,
from,
we got birthday coming up. Just anything we've done that jumps out from our birthdays.
I remember our 5th birthday shoot. We did the birthday party at Pete's house, and we decided to get this gif of me trying to
I
put
knew that's
the
where he was
biggest
gonna go.
piece of cake in my mouth. And
Nathan
Why is
really
he always
likes,
putting shit in
he
his
really
mouth?
likes shoving big
Did you see the
things
pizza? Yeah,
in
the
his
pizza
mouth.
piece this last week.
And I
Full
commented
slice.
on that, and he's like, well, bro, that's just the role that you guys have me play. And I'm like, no,
no, it's the
bro,
role I have
That's
me
the
play."
role you volunteer for.
Look, David Spade isn't shit without Chris Farley. Somebody's got to be the Chris Farley around here.
I mean, that's what you tell yourself, but you just can find a different...
People seem to like it, so I can't knock it too much.
Yeah.
But for me, I think Hawaii birthday is forever etched in my brain for a lot of different reasons. One of which because Daryl, we had a painting made from a customer. So we shot some pictures. We're on the beach. It's like birthday celebration. You know, we've got a cake that says Brotherhood on it. We're shooting. I mean, we were just like shooting, I think, content on our phones at the time.
Yeah.
Super early days.
Yeah, this is our very,
Very first.
first birthday.
And we had an awesome customer who painted that picture, like literally painted, hand painted, and sent it to us. The coolest thing, coolest gesture. And
We still have it.
to this day. It's hanging by the front door. So whatever brother sent us that painting, thank you. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
It's still here. But the guys have just like held on to that. And Daryl in the back of the warehouse took that painting and had a shirt made. And so now I just have that image of Mink and I on our first birthday with the Brotherhood cake. Looking all
And we have our ridiculous shirts we wear on like launch day to celebrate, and it's on the tag inside of our shirts. So now we've all got a little piece of that painting with us.
Yeah.
Yes. So that probably jumps out the most in terms of birthdays.
Yeah. The first one, I
ones.
feel like, for sure, just because, we were, like, when we started Live Bearded, Spence and I just went all in on it. He was living off savings. I was living off credit cards, and we ended up moving to Hawaii. We really couldn't afford living there, but we rented a house, and we were just like, we're going to figure this out. And we were just like, probably some of the happiest days. We're just like working all day long, starting this idea, this vision, this brand. Went from literally zero to where we're at today. But the foundation of that was built in Hawaii.
Yep.
And that first birthday sale there was really exciting. We did a big promotion. We ran a giveaway where we brought in a couple of customers to come hang out with us in Hawaii.
Tyron did wear pants for the actual thing, though, right? Like once he got to
That
Hawaii.
was great. I remember that too.
Tyrone.
Yeah. So the way that we did this whole giveaway, and we basically said for our 1-year anniversary, if you shop with us during the birthday sale, you get entered to win an all expenses paid vacation to Hawaii. And
come hang out with us.
Yeah, come hang out with us. And long story short, we did this whole thing where what did we do? We like
Narrowed it
drew.
down.
Yeah, we drew 15 people, and we narrowed it down to 15, and then we did a drawing.
Finalists. Yep.
And we did the drawing, and everybody had to be live on camera with us while we did it. And so we've got these, I think it was 12 or 15 people that are live on camera, and we did a drawing and drew 2 people. And one of the guys, he was sitting in front of his computer, shirt on, looked normal, and his name got called out, and he started freaking out, started jumping up and down. And he wasn't wearing any pants.
His tidy whities.
He was
tidy whities.
sitting in front of the camera, looking all normal with like a shirt and a hat on, with no pants. The motherfucker was wearing his tidy whities.
He got so excited he completely forgot and started jumping around while we're streaming the whole thing.
That was great.
That was great.
That's a solid memory.
yeah.
Let's get to our questions. Speaking
right.
of making solid memories, right? First one we got here from Howard says he wants to do something nice for his old lady, but he doesn't want to do the typical dinner and a movie, flowers, chocolate bullshit. What's something that I could do that we're both going to remember forever?
Well, you don't ask the single guy these things. So, Spence?
Yeah, I mean, Look, I instantly go to the women love the sentimental stuff. Take the time and put together something. So what I like doing for my wife is we do like photo books, and it'll be like the last year in reflection. It'll be certain special parts of our lives, and they have Shutterfly or whatever these companies are for like $20. You can put a book together, write some copy, take the time to put it together. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It just matters that you actually take the time to reflect and put your favorite moments together. I've done that consistently for anniversaries and Christmases and stuff, and it's cool because it documents and puts together your favorite memories from your perspective, and that's something that I guarantee she will cry and she will love it. So that's like an item. Obviously, depending on how much time you have, it's going to take a couple weeks to put together. But that's what I would do, something sentimental. I think oftentimes it's easy for guys to just say, like, I'm going to buy something fancy or go to a nice meal or something, and that's an easy way out. But when you have the intentionality of actually putting your heart and soul into something, they're gonna remember that a whole lot longer than just a nice meal. Or
go so much further. Like, I feel like I've gotten like a better reaction from like making somebody a really well thought out playlist on Spotify than going out and getting like a good big gift. Like, it's the thought that counts in, showing that you really know her, but I think also just experience, right? Like, doing things that are an experience with your partner is like, it's lights out. That's what they're going to remember. They're not going to remember the crap you gave them.
Yeah, one of the things I always thought was cool, and I see it oftentimes in Hawaii when I'm in Maui, is there's these companies that will set up these like really cool picnics, right? And you could set this up yourself, but you literally just go and you find like a special spot and you do this like really elaborate picnic. And, you get flowers and you get a little playlist together, maybe a little speaker, and you get a favorite bottle of wine or cheese and crackers, whatever she likes. And you just like, hey, we're going to go have a special day together. You don't tell her what it is. You go to a special spot, maybe a lookout, maybe something that you guys means a lot to you, and just have a little picnic and just spend the day together.
I think ultimately you have to know your partner and know what she's really going to love, right? If you guys haven't read the book, The 5 Love Languages, highly recommend it for all couples just to understand how to communicate, because there's some people that love physical touch. There's some people that love quality time. So for my wife, it's quality time all day. So if I can carve out time, do something sentimental, and then just be 100% present, that will trump any fancy gift or whatever that I could give her. It's not going to hit the same. So know your partner, and then spend the time to do something special.
And maybe a little hack is you're going to have ideas that come up at all different times, right? But typically when you need the idea, you don't have it, right? So what other things I do, and this isn't necessarily for relationships, again, because I'm single, but one of the things I do if something's important to me is I create like a little list of things that I can refer back to. Yeah. So maybe throughout the year, just to be preemptive, anytime you see a really good idea of something that you know would be sentimental to your girl or something that you think would be an amazing experience or something, write it down, create a little notepad of your dating ideas or, experiences that you want to create, and just start to document things. And then that way, when you get to an anniversary or Valentine's Day or birthday, you've already done all the work.
Cataloged it all.
And now you just have to decide which one you want to do. And that intentionality of doing that in advance will go a long way to your point of being intentional and putting effort into it.
Guys, scroll back and bookmark those last 30 seconds. Like, no shit, I keep a living document in my Google Docs on my phone that is exactly that for my wife. Just like always, like if she shows me something on her phone, she's excited. She's like, oh my God, this is so great. I'm like, awesome. Mental note, go in later, leave a link in there. And I've got all of her favorite foods. When she's in this mood, she likes this. Everything just listed out in this document.
Also, not on a birthday, on like a random fucking Tuesday, just be like, hey babe, let's do something for each other. Whenever you see something on Instagram or on social media that you really love, something that you would like to do together sometime or something that would mean a lot to you, send me it, right? To your point, I have folders in Instagram of saved stuff. Like I have saved bucket list stuff. I have saved mindset stuff. I have saved houses that I really love. I'm always trying to create lists of inspiration for stuff because typically when we need the inspiration,
it's hard to draw it.
It's hard to draw it, right? So if you have a resource to go back to, I love that idea. Create a saved folder on Instagram or on your phone of links of stuff. But if you ask her to send it to you in advance, like she'll be like, oh yeah, I love this, and boom. And then you can do the same, like find something that you really like, and you can literally just create that relationship where, you guys are both doing it for each other, so she can support you, you can support her, and then you know what to do when the time comes.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
For sure, yeah. Kind of a different vibe. Let's hit this next question. All right. This one comes from Leo for us. I get angry a lot, and it's a problem. I don't want it to be, but some things just set me off, and my breathing exercises are more of a warning alarm for the people around me, and it's really noticeable. What do you do to control your anger?
Raging Mink, what do you got?
Oh, bringing up the raging mink.
Yes, great.
We have an emoji in our intercompany communication Slack. Yeah, in our Slack channel of raging mink just angry screaming. It's my favorite emoji.
Yeah. You know, it's such an interesting question, and honestly, I've never really thought about it. Growing up, my dad was a really angry, abusive alcoholic. And so I grew up in this environment with a lot of anger and a lot of rage. And because I was the butt end of it so often, I never really, that's not true. I did have a period in my life where I was a very angry kid. I would say from like 16 to 21, I had all of this anger and frustration because my dad was like, you're fucking worthless. You're a piece of shit. You're this, you're this. And it was just like he was just dumping all this negativity into me and I didn't know what to do with it. And so I was just like, you know, and that honestly is where some of the raging mink came from. I think for me, growing up in that environment and knowing that I didn't want anything to do with it, I became very aware of the displacement of anger. And I think that's the first step. Like the first step is identifying that you have an anger issue. For me, the way that I overcame it is I put all of that fucking passion into something. For me, it was sports, right? So whenever I got really fucking angry and furious, I just went and played basketball. Growing up, basketball was my relief. That's what I did to escape. And so I put every ounce of anger and passion and intensity into playing the game of basketball. And that actually translated to success on the basketball court. I played, varsity basketball sophomore, junior, senior year. I was all conference. I got a basketball scholarship. So what that taught me is like, wow, I can take this intensity, this energy, because what is anger? I believe anger is just energy, right? It's a form of energy or it's a form of passion. Undirected, it's destructive. But directed, it's powerful. It's developmental. You can build something.
Totally.
So I think the first step is understanding what anger is. It's displaced emotion, right? Now, even going before that, like what is it that causes you to become angry? Whenever something becomes a trigger in your life, I believe that means you have unhealed or unresolved issues there, right? So that is a whole different story, like learning how to resolve issues and frustrations and challenges. But ultimately, let's just say that something does trigger you in a place where you get very, very angry. I would find a way to direct that anger in a useful manner. Whether that's you pour it into work, you pour it into fitness, you pour it into something that will allow you to get it out of your system. If you don't get the anger out of your system, then you will erupt. And I like this analogy of like suppression versus expression. The only difference between good energy, good passion, and bad passion, or like energy that's passion or energy that's anger, is understanding whether it's suppressed or it's expressed and how it's done. So the more that we suppress something, the more of a buildup there is until ultimately there's an eruption.
In a negative way.
In a negative way. So suppressing the anger is probably the worst thing that you can do. Finding an intelligent way to express it is, I think, the way that I have found to overcome all of my anger and all that intensity that I had, because my dad had more rage and intensity than anybody that I've met. And the truth is I have that same intensity inside of me. And I think it's one of the greatest gifts I have, but I've learned how to direct it towards things that are productive. And so I think the first thing that you can do, just because it's going to take more work to dissolve the triggers, to figure out like why those cause challenges, is to come up with a way to express that anger that's positive. Whether it's the gym, whether it's a run, whatever it might be, you don't want to express it onto others, but you want to express it to get it out of your body. From that point, once you find a way to express it that's healthy, that's productive, then you can say, okay, what about this situation caused me to get so angry? And then you can do some reflection on that
to unpack it
after the fact. You can't do it in the emotion of it, right? Whether this works for everybody or not, I can only express what I've done for myself. And for me, it was intelligently understanding, or just even like, because my dad projected all of his anger on me, I never wanted to do that, but I had that anger, so I had to learn how to project it onto things that were constructive. And by doing that, fortunately, I've built a pretty good life because that fuel, that anger, is one of the biggest.
It can be relentless.
The biggest fuel sources that we have. But you have to learn how to direct it. You know, one of my favorite quotes from Jordan Peterson is, "You should be a monster with it under voluntary control. You should be dangerous. You should be violent. You should be vicious, but you should have it under voluntary control." And I think that's the key. Anger by itself is not necessarily a bad thing. And maybe this is a what's the right word? A counterintuitive or a counterculture idea. I don't think anger by itself is bad. I think it's anger displaced that's bad. Anger is just an emotion. And if you can use that intelligently, I think it can be very powerful.
I 100% agree with that. I think sometimes reflecting back on myself, I'm not like a super angry guy, but some of the most radical change and growth for the better came from anger, channeling the anger towards actual making change, right? And so if you can channel and direct it, it can be wildly powerful. It's when it's not controllable and you're directing it and spraying it out to undeserving people.
Yeah,
that's when I think it's a dangerous thing. So I do 100% agree. Find ways to direct it into a positive, constructive way. And then for me I'd be curious what is your physical activity level like? Because for me, if I don't go to the gym and you have that pent up energy, I feel like I'm more on edge. But if you go exhaust yourself at the gym with a run, with something, getting outside, releasing those endorphins, meditating, breathing, like it's way harder for me to be angry because I'm exhausting a lot of that energy in a positive way. So I would
just
add
to
that.
dig another layer deeper into this real quick. Now, Leo's talking about this, and what we're talking about now sounds a lot like a good preventative long-term way to do this in your life. But from what he's saying with like my breathing exercises are a warning to the people around me, it makes me feel like this might be like more of an acute thing. So in those acute moments, do you guys feel like that same thing still applies? Like, can they acutely, like, if it's coming up fast, can they get up and go change their state, even just go for a walk to get that same kind of relief?
Yeah, for me, I think stepping away and like not reacting in that high emotional peak state in a negative way to create separation. So if you're bringing awareness to this anger coming, to step out and either communicate or just remove yourself to allow yourself to kind of control your thoughts a little bit. Changing location for me is highly, highly effective to just changing the state, right? So if I'm ever in a heated debate with my wife or something, right, we will sit and go back and forth on a topic, and unless you get up and change the state, it's easy just to go back and forth. But it's amazing if you just simply say, hey, let's continue this conversation and go on a walk. And by going outside and changing your space, your physical space, you see things totally different, allows you to kind of have a little reset to it. So I think in that situation, for me, I would remove myself from that context into a new environment, and that for me would change my perspective.
It's a fascinating topic, and it's interesting as I'm listening to, as we're talking about this, I have experienced so much anger and rage in my environment throughout my life. Not necessarily, again, from myself, but from my parents, my experience. I've actually never thought very deeply about how I've overcome it. It was just like an evolution for me. But ultimately, I think anger is a signal, again, for unresolved frustrations, challenges, issues. And in the moment, you can't work to resolve them. But after you go through the cycle of emotion, I think you have to come back and say, what about this made me so upset? Mm-hmm. And my guess is you're focusing on something that you have no control over. And because you have no control over it, you feel like it's pervasive or it's permanent or there's nothing that you can do to change it. And it's, again, by focusing on something that's outside of your control, that's creating that kind of chain reaction of anger. Part of it comes down to just changing the way that we look at or focus on things. But I think anger is something that to some degree everybody is going to experience at different points in times in their life. It's an interesting thing. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking out loud and I'm like, how have I not thought more about this in my life? Mm-hmm. You know, because it was such a giant part of my life. But for me, it was just like, I went to war. I used that anger to go to war with the things in my life that I didn't like. I didn't like the way that I was showing up or myself, and I went to war with myself to learn, to grow, to get better, to become the man I wanted to be. I went to war with my environment because I was broke and I didn't have the opportunities that I wanted, and so I used that anger as fuel to drive my work ethic, to learn and grow, to start my business, to learn how to create things. So again, I think it can be a very positive emotion if you allow it to direct you in a constructive way. But ultimately, we have to figure out what is causing that and resolve that. Because if you are a victim of that, you'll always be controlled by it.
Yeah, I think to channel anger as your fuel source can work for a sustained period of time. But for me, I would have to do the reflection and unpack where the actual trauma is and want to find peace with that. Because to use fuel, again, just my perspective, to use anger as a fuel source works for a period of time. But if you don't resolve and heal whatever it is that's actually causing that, long term, I feel like that would weigh me down. And I can only go off of my past experiences, but I've been through periods of my life where I used that anger and that fuel. And it is amazing at how powerful that can spark change. But it is exhausting if you're constantly reminded
of that
that
idea
traumatic.
of hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
Right? You hit that rock bottom and you're like, not another day, not another second,
This
not
is
another
fucking
minute.
it. I'm never fucking yes. And you remind yourself of that rock bottom to make progress, to make change. But if you're constantly reminding yourself of that rock bottom and that's no longer who you are, that's no longer your story, that's a past story, but you're reminding yourself of that, well, then I think that could be negative. And ultimately healing that part of you so you can evolve and move on is really important.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me with anger is understanding whether it is anger towards things that are outside of our control. And if it's outside of your control and you allow it to affect you, you're just always going to be fucked. And so you have to get to a place where you put things in their proper place. And it's like, okay, this caused a reaction inside of me. And if I look at it, I don't control this person, this environment, this situation, this circumstance. It's like, God, how many of us get furious about the political situation in the world, regardless of what side you're on? It's like, how could you be this fucking stupid, right? And then you're like, hold on a minute. I don't have any influence over that. I don't have any control over it. And maybe this story, we're getting kind of long-winded, but let me tell you guys a quick story about an experience I had in my life, and maybe this will help. So I was 22, 23 years old. I was broke as shit, and I hated my fucking life. And I had this job that I was going to. It was an online university. I was doing enrollment sales, and I just hated it. I had a manager that I hated, and I was on the side. I was like starting to build my business. I was starting to learn marketing and sales, and so it was very early in the beginning of my career. And I had this day where I walked in, and I was like, I fucking hate this place. I don't want to be here. Blah, blah, blah. I had this anger, like this frustration. And I was sitting at my desk, and to your point of you got to move, I was like, I got to go for a walk. And we had this big campus, like big office complex with thousands of offices. And it took me about 15 minutes to walk around the building. So I got up and I went out and I started walking around the building. And the whole time, my head is going, I fucking hate this place. This fucking sucks. I'm a fucking failure. I can't take this anymore. It was just anger and rage was just spewing out of me. And about halfway around the building, I literally stopped and I said out loud to myself, there was no one around. I said, Mink, you will either shut the fuck up and get in there and work, or you'll quit and do something about it. But you won't be the type of man that bitches and whines and complains and doesn't do anything. It was like, you'll either take action or you'll accept the circumstance, but you won't be the motherfucker in the middle that's bitching and complaining. I was like, that's it. I quit. I'm fucking done. Oh, I'm quitting this fucking job. And so I literally am like, I'm done. I'm quitting. I fucking can't take this anymore. And so I walk back inside. And as soon as I get back inside, I was like, you know, maybe I shouldn't just make this emotional decision in this moment. Maybe I shouldn't quit today. What would be the smart thing to do in this moment? If I set aside my anger, let me just take the day. Like I'm not in the right place for whatever reason right now. Let me just have a personal day. I'll go home. I'll take some space, like you said. Let me rethink this and see what a better decision is tomorrow. So I go up to my manager, again, a guy that I thought was a total douchebag. I said, hey, bro, I'm going to take a personal day. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, I'm going to take a personal day. And he's like, are you sick? I said, no, I'm not sick. I'm just taking a personal day. He's like, you can't just leave and take a personal day. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm not asking you. I'm fucking telling you. I'm taking a personal day today. And he goes, if you walk out that door, you're fired. You're like, I'll fire you. Or what did I say? He's like, I'll have to let you go. And I was like, then I fucking quit. And he looked at me. He's like, really? And I was like, yeah, I'm fucking done. And not that it was good or bad. I got caught in the emotion, right?
It felt kind of nice.
But it felt really good. And he's like, oh, you know, whatever. So I literally like sent him a resignation thing and I fucking walked out and I was done. And in that moment, the moral of the story is like, You can be the type of person that bitches and complains about things, or you can be the type of person that does something about it. But I think the worst thing that we can do is be the type of person that's in the middle, right? You either accept the circumstance for what it is, or you find a way to change the circumstance. But if you're that guy in the middle that is just going to bitch and complain about things, I think that's where a lot of anger and frustration and rage comes from. Again, it's learned helplessness in a lot of ways. So for me, I've just always been able to resolve my anger by either shutting the fuck up and accepting it, or doing something about it and channeling that anger to change my environment.
Speaking of a change of environment, all right. Now, the first question, it wasn't so much geared towards you, but we rounded it out, Mink. We saved this last question because this is right up your alley. You ready for this one? All right. Our final question today comes from Richard. He says, I've got one vacation that I can take this year, and I've got about a $1,500 budget. Where should I go?
Where does he live?
Yeah.
I don't know where Richard lives. Richard, can you just shout real quick?
Hey, Richard.
In the U.S.
In the U.S. He lives in the
I think
U.S.
I heard that.
I mean, gosh, I don't know. It's so personal, right? I think you got to decide whether or not you're a beach guy or a mountain guy, what type of activities you want to do.
How much time do you have?
Yeah. It's such a
He's got the one vacation, $1,500. Where's it going to go the furthest? That's what I'd ask.
yeah.
Where can I have the best time for $1,500, Mink?
Man,
Is it Thailand?
I'm the wrong person to ask. You can't even get to Thailand for $1,500. You might be able to get there for $1,000, $1,200. I don't know. You know, this last weekend I was in Mexico. Yeah, I don't really love Mexico, to be honest with you. Like, maybe it's just me not being a huge fan of Mexican food. Like, I know we're in Arizona. A lot of people love Mexican food.
I could eat Mexican
Have
food
you
every
had
day.
nachos?
It's not
Have
my
you had
favorite.
carne asada?
But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Mexico is an easy answer. You can get there pretty cheap. I was in Cabo this last weekend. It was nice, you know. I'm just a fan of Hawaii. You know, $1,500 doesn't go very far in Hawaii. Unfortunately, it's probably going to cost you $500-$600 to get there. You know, if you're there for, you know, minimum $250 a night in a room, so your budget's pretty tight there. Yeah, I can't answer the question without knowing what he likes to do.
Yeah.
But if I was on a budget and I was going to go someplace that was close by, I think Mexico is a good option. I think I haven't spent a lot of time in Florida, but if you like beaches, I know the Gulf Coast in Mexico or in Florida is very nice. There's some beautiful beaches down there, and like Sarasota and things like that. But man, it's an impossible question to answer if you don't have more context.
All right, well then let's give context for. Okay, we know what they want for beaches. Spence, I know you love to get a good getaway. You've got the roof rack tent, get out into the mountains, hit Colorado, stuff like that. I think that's a pretty good way to get out on a budget.
Yeah, on a budget. I think any kind of camping trip, you can either rent a rig if you don't have one, or get some camping gear. They rent everything. You can go hit up any national park for really inexpensive campsites are cheap. So if you want to stretch your money far, I mean, if you're on the West Coast, you got all sorts of parks, Grand Canyon, Zion, all sorts of stuff. So depending on where you're at, obviously access to different parks. But for $1,500, you could easily do a week out of national park, do some hiking, hot springs, again, depending on what's relevant to the park. But that's a good way to stretch your money for sure.
Absolutely. I feel like I always recharge
Load up
best
on all
in
the
Yeah, I
groceries.
think a road trip is
Road
a good
trip would
call.
be good. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, there you have it, Richard. Road trip. And if you road trip brings you through Arizona, swing by LBHQ. We're here in Tempe, Arizona. We'd be happy to see you. We love when we have our visitors stop by. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
It is one of the best things. We're stuck behind our computers all the time. So to see customers come through, get to shake a hand, give a hug, hear their story, it's super fulfilling.
They're like, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. And I'm like, no, I'm so happy to not be looking at a computer screen for 10 minutes.
So that's 3 questions.
That was 3. That's 3.
That brings us up to the Do Better Dude. Guys, this next segment is where we highlight a guy out in the world doing positive shit, because to be honest, there's a lot of negativity out in the world today. So we like to find a guy that's kind of living by the Live Bearded values, call him out, recognize him, honor him, and kind of share his story. So Nate, who we got this week?
Dude, we got a hell of a Do Better Dude this week. We've got Rodney Smith Jr. Now, he's got a nonprofit called Raising Men and Women Lawn Care. He started in Huntsville, Alabama. Nice. It started out just as like by himself. He went out on this mission to like help his community, and he started mowing lawns for free for elderly, disabled, single parents, and veterans. And he started this in this whole nonprofit now, where he's trying to really instill these values of like hard work, discipline, and community service into kids. And so he does what's called a 50-yard challenge, and kids can accept the challenge, and he sends them out a shirt and sunglasses and ear protection. And after they've mowed 50 lawns, he sets them up with a bunch of free equipment. But it's just to get out into your community and mow lawns for the people who aren't necessarily getting out there themselves, and really instill that hard work and like an entrepreneurial spirit into these kids aged 7 to 17.
Dude, I love that. That's awesome. Building the future leaders, building those entrepreneurs, teaching them some hard work. A lot of people are missing that.
The value of hard work is absolute. That's for sure. That's so cool that he's doing that and just creating an opportunity for other people to learn, to grow, to step up, to learn the value of hard work, to make some money for themselves. I mean, one of the reasons why we started Live Bearded and kind of the ethos is this idea it's our responsibility as men to do better every day, learn from our mistakes, grow through our failures, and strive to be the best that we can be. And the true mark of a leader is to empower others to lead. And so I love that story and that idea of him helping people in the community to step up and lead in their own way.
Yeah, and he does it nationwide so far. He's had about 5,000 kids come through the program. They've mowed 20,000 lawns for free. What I really like about this, too, is that it's not just like this action that he doesn't have to be a part of. Like, once they've mowed 50 lawns, he will drive out to wherever this kid is in the country, spend a day with them mowing lawns, buy them a new leaf blower, weed eater, lawn mower, and spend the day with them just like talking about what their experience has been like, getting out, working hard, and making a difference in their community.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's this random parable I remember, you know, and it's like there's a kid walking on a beach and there's just starfish all over the beach, and he's just like picking them up and throwing them back in the water. And there's thousands of them all across the beach. And someone is like, why are you doing that? It's not going to matter. And the guy picks one up and throws it in the water. And he's like, it mattered to that one, you know? And it's just this idea that it's easy to forget in our commoditized social media world where the value of a one-to-one experience can seem cheap in the eyes of millions of views and millions of followers and all this social nonsense. But the biggest impact we can have is on a one-to-one basis. And I think the biggest gift that we can give someone is the gift of our time and attention. And so it's not to be understated the power of supporting one human and the ripple effect that that can make.
Well, that's what I love too about this. Like early in the company, it was really easy for us to get a lot more of those one-to-one touch points and make impacts on people. But that's what I really love about what we're doing with the Beardsmen in this podcast, right? Like this is a way for us to try to do that at scale, to have those connections, those experiences, and have that impact on people's lives. And I think that makes everything we do 100% worth it.
Let's go.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us today. If there's anything we can do, we're here to support you guys. Reach out, let us know. We started Live Bearded really because we want to help you guys look, feel, and be your best. If there's any way we can help with that, let us know. Until next time,
Live Bearded!
Bearded.